All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome to the 16th episode of the Scoops podcast. I am Daniel, and I am here with my friend Jonathan Ghattas. Go ahead, say what's up, Jonathan.
Hey guys, thank you for having me, Daniel.
Of
Appreciate it.
course, of course. Thank you for jumping on. Super excited to have you on. I've been wanting to have you on for a while. I'm just happy that it finally came into fruition over the last couple of weeks. Jonathan is a student at Cal State University Dominguez Hills, and he is currently writing for a publication called News for Us Online. And he's got a lot of good stuff coming out there. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about it, Jonathan?
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough to be working, like as you said, for News for Us, which is a smaller local newspaper out in Bellflower, and have been lucky enough and fortunate enough to be covering the Los Angeles Clippers about since the All-Star break, I would say, and have been attending all the home games. Been to about 13 home games this season, and it's just really been a pleasure being able to talk to guys like Coach Lou, Reggie Jackson, Kawhi, and just get some insight, into the locker room, as well as just again being able to watch these superstars live, day in and day out, and also be able to see guys that they play against like Giannis and Steph, and just that's really also just been amazing to watch. These head-to-head matchups and possible final matchups, possibly as the playoffs approach us, and yeah, it's just been a real joy to go into the interviews and just attend Staples Center, especially at the beginning where there was no fans allowed into the stadium. So I just felt kind of real personal and intimate being there. It felt like they were just playing just for you in the sense of, it was just you being able to watch the game. And it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's the dream at the end of the day, isn't it? What we're trying to do. I mean, exactly what you're doing. So it's cool to see. So yeah, go ahead and check out all the stuff. That's newsforusonline.com, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah. So being that you have been able to be so close to Clipper games and cover them and write about them, any updates you have on anything you've been seeing over the last couple of games or however many you've seen for the Clippers?
Yeah, no. So like I said, I've been from the 13 I've gone, they've only lost once. So I kind of joke with the PR team that they need to have me there for playoffs because I have not seen them lose, which also makes for much easier writing when it comes to your stories. But one thing I've noticed, and obviously, like you said, keeping track with the team since the All-Star break, they do have the best record at 18-5, and right now they're kind of on a little hot streak. They've won 10 of 11, and just they're still within striking distance for that one seed behind Utah, who themselves were extremely hot. At one point, won 20 of 21, I want to say, and the Clippers actually kind of ended that streak. So that was really cool to watch. And another cool stat that I find this season with the shortened schedule, right? There's a lot of back-to-backs, and teams are just really grinding out these, playing X amount of games in like 10 days or, just compressed schedule. The Clippers are actually now 11-1 on the second leg of a back-to-back, which I'm pretty sure is the best record in the NBA for that, that statistic. So, I was able to ask Coach Lou last night at the game what he thought, if there's any motivation or what makes them so good on a back-to-back. And that, for them, it's kind of been they have a deep roster. They were able to bench Kawhi, who's actually nursing a foot injury, and PG, Rondo, Jackson, and turn to guys like Terrence Mann, Luke Kennard, who were kind of unknown guys heading into the season. And now they're getting big minutes down the stretch here and have been able to carry the team, when, again, they can give guys, their veteran guys, the days off, especially with this shortened schedule. That's just really key. A lot of the teams are, resting players when they can. So that stat to me, I think, stuck out a lot because we know in the playoffs, you're going to have just consistent games in a series. So knowing that they're, they can come out there that second night and lay down the hammer still is pretty, I think, is a pretty key thing. And that has to do a lot with their depth and the ability to, give guys the time off when needed. And again, they've been out without Ibaka and Pat Beverly now for a handful of games. I mean, it's stretching about almost 20 games for each of them. So again, the signing of like Boogie Cousins and just other guys from the G League that have been able to step up just kind of shows, again, their ability to have that depth. And that's something we know is kind of key, especially, as the season has been really compressed and going into playoffs, it gives you that load advantage. So yeah, I think that's been their key mark this season, just being able to play as a team. And as Coach Lou said, just being resilient and finding a way to win. They were down 18 early against Memphis last night and won by 15. So that just shows, how they can fight back, and just they're not relying on just one part of their game. They have really good inside game where guys can drive and kick, but they're the best three-point shooting team in the league right now, and also the only team to have shot 50% from the field and 50% from three 11 times this season. And the entire league, I want to say, has only done that a handful of times. But, another tidbit, they could be the first team in franchise or the league's history to shoot 50 from the field, 40 from three, and 90 from the line as a team.
50, 40, 90 club as an entire organization.
As an entire team, yeah. So that would be the first time ever.
That'd be incredible.
Yeah. So, and it just shows too, their game isn't just the 3-point shot. Even though they do take maybe 20 to 25 a game, they're not chucking up, logo threes or just at the shot clock. No, they're set plays that they can kick and drive, and
they're balanced and they're efficient.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not just, let's just hit you with the haymakers from deep. They're able to play the low post with Zoo. Now with Cousins, it gives them a bigger body because they do kind of lack that center presence. But you do have guys like Marcus Morris and Kawhi PG that can play a low post mid-range game.
It's crazy how deep they are. It's crazy to really think about it at times. Like, I was out somewhere and I was watching highlights on the TV at the restaurant I was at. And it was Reggie Jackson had like a 20-something point game in a dub. And it was like, I was thinking, I'm like, that's like one of their rotation pieces. And it's like a couple years ago, dude was dropping 20 to 25 in Detroit. And now he's like a cog in the system that is the Clippers. And they have just as the name from top to like almost the bottom. It's just guys who either at other points or other organizations or on this one, just like can easily drop 20 points for you on any given night or on a long stretch of nights. Like just really like either really stellar names or just really, really good role players. And it's like, man, like looking at them on paper, they're scary, but we know that the Clippers as an organization, we as fans, we got to see it translate to the playoffs.
Agreed. Yeah. Especially after last year's just horrendous choke against Denver, being up 3-1, and not only being up 3-1, but multiple games being up like 20 plus at half. And then having guys like the Joker and Murray just come back and just kill them, 3 straight was, again, like you said, it makes people feel like they're cursed in a way, especially people around the organization. And sometimes sports teams do just have that. Sports is kind of like that, where a team is just cursed, quote unquote, and it is kind of like, all right, you got to get over that hump. And again, like you said, on paper, they were able to trade away a guy like Lou Williams, who was dropped, like you said, could easily drop 20 a night, or like Reggie does. But, by getting a guy like Rondo, I think that kind of solidifies that playoff experience and just that veteran presence that they
championship experience.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. Yeah, exactly. So I think that will kind of translate more in the playoffs for them opposed to the regular season. That was definitely a postseason move done by Ballmer and to help the team. And it was, it wasn't done so with the mentality of like, oh, how are we going to replace Luke's scoring? Because like you said, guys like Reggie can easily come out and have a 20-point night. And guys like Luke Kennard, who, this kid was hurt all of last year, played for the Pistons. Nobody, like, who the heck is Luke Kennard?
Who's Luke Kennard? Yeah, unless you were like really into basketball, you never heard the name.
Right. And, now he's out here last night, dropped a season high, possibly career high, 28 points, with 6 of 7 from three. I mean, so not only accurate, but just deadly, mid-range game too. So I think, again, as a team, they just have the ability that any guy can go off that really just give them that.
That Lou Will trade, it was like a lot of people, some Clipper fans I saw were okay with it, understood it. But some people were like upset for some reason. And I'm like, isn't that what the Clippers wanted? Like, not getting rid of Lou Will per se, but everyone for years has been talking about they don't have like a playmaker, like a guy that is just like, that's what he's known for. And that's exactly what Rajon Rondo has been known for his entire career. And his shooting has stepped up tremendously from when he started in the league. So it's like, he's a little more all around. No, he's not like the Rondo of old. It's going to be putting up triple doubles in the playoffs and like going crazy all the time. But like you said, he gives them the playmaking, and he gives them the leadership and, just the experience that they need when it gets to playoff time. That's just invaluable when it comes to the locker room, when it comes to the bench. Like those type of guys can be invaluable if they're met the correct way. Like we know Rondo had his problems in Dallas. Rondo's had his problems in other places that he's gone. But I mean, they're 8-1. I think the stat I saw is maybe 9-1. I'm not sure what it's gone to, but I know they haven't lost very many games since he's joined.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think a little bit of that too was that Coach Lou actually was there in Boston for a few years when Rondo was there. So I think just that connection too. And like you said, for Rondo, it's been right when he got there, he was teaching guys or mentoring guys like Luke Kennard and Mann and Pat Beverly, and just trying to provide more of, like you said, a locker room presence that, isn't on the stat sheet. That's hard to see that really play out on the court. But in the locker room, having a guy like that is definitely huge, knowing like, okay, if you lose a game in the playoffs, it's not the end of the world. Like, you can bounce back and still, come out the next day and get the dub. So yeah, no, I think the whole Lou Williams thing, I think was just more, he's been there for a while. And so,
he's a fan favorite.
Yeah, exactly. Fans feel like, oh, you're trading away our guy. It's like when Brady left New England, everyone's pissed off and upset. He's not Brady, obviously. But yeah, it's just when, you get rid of the fan favorite. But I think Rondo has immediately, like you said, record-wise, yes, I believe they're 8-1, 9-1. He's missed some games now. Mm-hmm. But he's proven it too when he's on the court. He's going to be able to get them the victory or at least help them. Because he's for now he's going to definitely have that role player role in the lineup because they have Pat Bev when he's healthy he plays he's more of a defensive guard and Rondo is going to give him more of that true point guard presence which they do kind of lack because even Reggie at times is more of a scorer not a facilitator. So
he's Rondo's the main like pass first guard that they're going to have, the pass first point that they have. And I mean, I think a lot of people in the Clippers organization were upset because Lou Will was probably their wing plug and now he's gone. So they got to find a new place to get wings. But no, but for real. And we were talking about all these different guys that could drop 20, like Reggie, Marcus Morris, guys like that. And it's like, we didn't even mention their like main guys like Kawhi and PG, who are arguably like their best players that can drop. It's like, they have like they just have so many guys that can do so many different things, including score the ball. And it's like this is why it's like there's a lot of I feel there should be a lot of pressure on the Clippers to perform well in the playoffs. Like at the very least, get to the Western Conference Championship. At the very least, with what happened last year, with how well you're doing in the regular season, and a lot of fans, it's like, all right, regular season is great. But in the main, like in thinking of it all in the big picture, it doesn't really mean anything if you can't get it done in the playoffs. So it's like, all right, Clippers, the time is starting to come up for you guys to really come to the dance and show us what you're made of. So it's like, all right, we got to see it. We got to see all this stuff when it counts at the end in the postseason.
Yeah, no, and like you said, it needs to translate to that success because as a franchise, they've never even made it to the West Finals. Everyone's really aware of it. And
Yep.
like I said, they almost feel just cursed, especially after last year's meltdown. So yeah, I mean, this season's really going to be huge, and yeah, I think that's why they're going to take it kind of easy with Kawhi here down the stretch. PG will probably get some more rest days than usual because he's been dealing with a leg injury as well. But like you said, yeah, we didn't even mention those two throughout this entire time, and they just
Yeah.
they have that depth where even a guy like Zoo, who I feel like doesn't get the recognition he deserves, because Zoo is nice. I mean, that guy can get those offensive boards. The other night he had a career high in assists, and same thing, he can easily drop 20 if needed, if you need that low post presence. So yeah, no, it's kind of put up or shut up for them, and we'll see. They might. I tease you, they might play the Lakers that first round, and that would really be a bad beat for one of the LA teams, because both of those really, that's a finals matchup that we should get in the West. And
Oh yeah.
hopefully it still plays out that way.
That'd be one for
Depending
the
on
ages.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be time for them to show what they're made of when the playoffs come.
Remember when Zoo, I mean, we know Zoo was a Laker. Zubac started out a Laker. I think I was the only fan that wasn't tremendously upset that he wasn't a Laker when he left or when he was traded. Like a lot of people were. And kind of looking back at it now, I understand a little more why. But my thought was, one, I mean, he, like you said, he's like a lower post, not really a shooter. Like he just like really in the paint a lot, banging down low. It's like not many of those guys click with LeBron in big minutes or in late game situations per se sometimes, but usually not. Usually you want to give space to LeBron. So, I mean, that, and along with thinking of just big picture stuff, I was like, all right, Zubac leaving. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. He's in the right situations on the right teams in the right, like, minute settings, I guess, rotations. He's going to be a good player for whatever team he goes to. Like, I get that. But thinking about it at that time, I was like, okay, like maybe not the best fit. And we got LeBron, and I mean, the dude knows what he's doing, and they were probably going to get a ring. And they did. And so Zubac not being there for a ring, I'm okay with it because we got that ring. That was the goal at the end. And losing whoever we lost to make that happen was worth it for me.
No, yeah, I agree. And then, hindsight, knowing that they had a chance of getting like AD, I think for sure. And like you said, LeBron just doesn't play the five usually with him. It has to be a smaller guy, like you said, to give spacing. Because yeah, Zoo, they were even joking, teasing him last night about taking the three, and he just still refuses to take a 3-pointer in a game. Because like you said, it's just not his game, and he's definitely more a low post presence. But I think, like you said, in the right situation, which I feel like the Clippers, because I actually was kind of shocked that he got traded from the Lakers, because I just watching him play, I was like, yeah, this kid can ball, at least at that true five spot. But we don't really have that many true fives anymore in the league. It's become a small man game and just shooting the threes.
You either got to be agile or you can shoot, or both.
Right, exactly. And that's why you see guys like Embiid, Giannis, these bigger guys, Joker, like taking threes and actually being able to knock them down to, again, just to provide that little bit of a threat from deep. Because if you can't nowadays, it's kind of like, they'll just they rather keep, they want you out the paint for sure, opposed to like, guys aren't willing to bang down low anymore. And really played like true defense. I mean, defense
because it's a guard's league now, and if the guard dances around his defender because you can't hand check, and he gets to the basket, and your man is clogging the paint because you can't shoot a three, that's where the complications come, and that's where you need to either be able to spread the floor or make a quick cut, or be some kind of lob threat like a DeAndre Jordan, Andre Drummond type. So a low post guy, there's just not a lot of I guess marketability for a guy like that. But I mean, that's not to say that Zubac isn't an effective player, because he has proven to be an effective player, especially with the Clippers.
Yeah, no, and I think, like you said, definitely just as more about the fit, and with the Clippers, I think it definitely has been an easy transition for him. He didn't have to move far. Just went across the locker room, so he was accustomed already to play in LA. And also, the Lakers. We know Lakers are rule LA. They're the number one. I mean, now probably behind the Dodgers, the Lakers are always going to have the more fans and the more respect. And the Clippers are kind of seen as like the second market team in the big market. So, yeah, I mean, I think that maybe a little less pressure and stuff too, knowing you don't have to perform alongside a guy like LeBron, and wearing that Laker jersey, or guys, like Shaq and just other amazing players have played there. So yeah, I think it'll definitely have been a better situation for him, and he's been able to take advantage of Ibaka being hurt, and been getting more minutes. So yeah, for him I think it's a situational thing, and yeah, he's definitely been able to thrive with the team.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, we'll see what comes of the end of this season, which is coming up quickly. It's creeping up on us every day, and I'm excited for these playoffs. I'm really, really excited for these playoffs. I mean, I enjoyed the bubble for its aspects. It had its pros and cons, and it was definitely different. But it's going to be cool to see fans back. And I mean, there's so many teams are doing well this season. Like, so many teams are like, okay, this team could upset this team and no one would be shocked.
Yeah, no, I think again, we had talked earlier about how, if you told me Utah or Phoenix were going to be the two in the West, we'd be like, get out of here. There's no way. Or the fact that the Knicks are all of a sudden the 4th seed in the East. I mean, the Knicks have been trashed for how long now? And, now they have some young guys that are
hungry guys.
And know what's at, also same thing, know what's at stake. Okay, you can be good in the regular season, but now, it's time to be, make some noise in the playoffs. And yeah, wouldn't surprise me if they upset whoever finishes 5, or, give a run to Milwaukee or Brooklyn in the next round if they were able to move on. So yeah, I think the league definitely has gotten more competitive over the years, because, 4 years ago, we could just chalk up LeBron in the East, and then whoever the heck he was going to beat coming out of the West.
Yeah.
Or, we had Golden State, Cleveland for 4 straight years, right? So, I mean, it's been, I think it's been good to see a little more competitiveness across the league, and yeah, have teams like Utah and Phoenix with a mix of young bloods and, some vets like Chris Paul still proven that they can ball, at this age, because, CP3 too, with all his greatness, could not succeed with the Clippers. I mean, so same thing, I think just the competitiveness across the league has definitely been more level now that LeBron's out the East, and again, I still chalk up LeBron going to the finals every year. I mean, he still does, but it's definitely been more competitive. Like, you wouldn't have thought Miami last year would have been there after the big 3. You figured, okay, it's going to take them a long time to come back. And no, I mean, Spoelstra is a hell of a coach.
And Pat Riley.
Right, exactly. The genius as a GM. So, no, yeah, I think the league has gotten more competitive. And like you said, I think it's become a lot more fun to watch the game again, because before you could kind of just like, all right, I'll just wait for playoffs and see what happens, and now you kind of, the regular season
it's fun to watch.
It's fun to watch, yeah, which I don't think the league could have had that type of, viewability or, fan engagement 2-3 years ago. And then the bubble too, kind of, I think, like you said, kind of changed how they had to approach getting fans engaged, since you weren't allowed to go to games.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm same thing. I'm stoked for the playoffs. This play-in tournament is going to be pretty wild. And yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch this year.
Yeah, we will get to the play-in tournament, but before we move on from the Clippers, at least, there was 2 things I wanted to ask you when it came to, or at least just mention to you about the Clippers. First, I wanted to ask, how many games have you seen, like yourself, of Boogie Cousins, and from the ones that you have seen, what have you seen that you liked or that you didn't like?
I want to say now about 3 games. I was able, again, last night with Memphis, and then they also played. What they play the other night? I should know this, but they a few games. And no, yeah, he's been solid. Again, it gives them a bigger bigger man presence and rotation because, again, outside the zoo, they really don't have a 7-footer or a center to play the true five. So, I mean, he's been good. Last night he took some charges. And, again, being able to turn the ball over, that's a stat, that, again, doesn't really go on your personal stat sheet. But, being able to give your team an extra possession. And, again, just providing a low post presence. He's proven he still has some juice left in the tank. He knocked down the 3 the other night, and again, his low post game still looks solid. And again, what's expected of him, it's not like you're expecting him to drop you 20, 30 a night like before, like he had to, when he was with New Orleans or even Houston. So I think
or the Kings,
or the Kings, yeah. So knowing that he only needs to go out there 10, 15 minutes, and just give them kind of a breather for Zoo and Ibaka when he comes back. No, I think it was a good pickup. I know they just signed him to a second 10-day contract.
Nice.
The reason they keep doing that too is that, the league has a rule about you need to have a certain amount of active guys on the roster. So whether or not they extend him throughout the rest of the postseason will be interesting to see, because depending on who's healthy or not. But I think he's definitely has earned it in the sense, at least, staying on the team as part of one of the 15. And yeah, I mean, to get a guy like him for like the veteran minimum, they're not spending a lot of money.
It could be a win-win. It could be a win-win because, I mean, like you said, Boogie, he doesn't have the pressure of having to drop 30 points a game. And if you're the Clippers, you really only need him for those, like you said, 10, 15 minutes of, if you could give a really solid 10, 15 minutes, you're only making, a case for yourself that you're still an important role player, at least for the league, or an important player in the league. And you're helping the Clippers, and you're making the Clippers better. And, it could potentially be a win-win situation if they do decide to keep him on for the rest of the season.
No, yeah, for sure. Especially if he's able to prove he can still provide some decent minutes. Nowadays there's definitely room for those kind of role players.
Yeah.
And, he can definitely help himself and extend his career a little bit more. Because, again, same thing, he kind of was on the downturn there where, you didn't really think not many teams were after him. So for him, yeah, he's looked good. And, again, I think Lou does a great job of letting players know what their role is. They're not gonna, he's really straightforward. Like he says himself, he's really blunt. These guys are professionals. You don't want to tiptoe around them and kind of bullshit them in the sense of like, oh, I'm going to give you X minutes and then he's on the bench the whole night. It's really straightforward with his guys. And I think his style of coaching too helps a lot because Lou himself was a role player,
Yep.
Lou's bounced around, played with a bunch of teams, played with the Lakers.
And from what I know, he was always loved by those teams. All the people that I've heard talk about him as a teammate or anything like that, it's just always been praised.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, again, sometimes that having that bluntness or just being straightforward, these guys are men, exactly. and they're professionals, and just telling them what's expected of them. I think that he's able to get the most out of his guys by doing that, opposed to, being a cold shoulder coach or, not really engaging with his players. So I think that definitely helps him get the most out of his guys. And yeah, it might benefit Boogie down the line next season, depending on, how it plays out for him.
Yeah. One of my favorite Lou Will moment, or not Lou Will, Coach Lou moments is when I can't remember who it was, but a player from the opposite team was in his team's huddle. And like he kind of has he's like talking, but he's like, wait, what the heck? You remember that? I can't remember who it was.
Yeah.
But, oh my gosh, that video always gets me. That video is so funny. The last thing I want to talk about for the Clippers was the kind of emergence of Terrence Mann. Like I've been hearing a lot about Terrence Mann, and for non-basketball fans, you didn't really know who Terrence Mann was prior to this season for the most part.
No, yeah, agreed. And I'm actually working on an article about him and just his how he's come out, and he went to Florida State, wasn't really known in college, and now here with the Clippers has been able to, again, get extra minutes at the guard position when either Kawhi or PG are out. And yeah, I mean, just being able to talk to him also personally a couple of times, he works really hard in practice. He's one of those guys that will stay after the games and shoot, and he's the first one in, first one out type of guy. and really has just been able to develop his game throughout the season. And again, I think having a coach like Lou, it's really benefited him because he knows that some nights, you might not play, you might be on the bench, and I'm going to go to the vets, or PG and Kawhi are going to play heavy minutes, but you stay ready, and
Yeah.
when you're put in, he's not expected to again be the stud, but they trust him enough. Like last night, he ran point for most of the game and was able to drop 7 dimes and just was a great facilitator. And he himself said, he hadn't played that much point guard since high school, and so, but having that trust and, knowing that the coaches trust you, your teammates trust you.
Yeah.
I think just as any pro and any player, that always helps you too. But yeah, I mean, Terrence has really been a big, again, just another guy in that, out of that 15 for them. And I think that's, as a team, that's how they look at themselves. They know, like, I'm just one guy, part of the team. And I think that's helped guys like himself and Luke Kennard just have this confidence that,
and be more comfortable with who you're with. Exactly. I mean, it's really cool to see. And I mean, hard work pays off, and that's coming from Terrence Mann. I mean, he's like you said, he's ready for the opportunities. When his number is called, he puts in the work to be prepared, to do the best that he can and be prepared. I mean, I can't remember who said it, but opportunity or success is just when preparation meets opportunity. And Terrence Mann is making the most of that in Los Angeles with the Clippers.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I think for him, he definitely has a bright future. If it's, be it with the Clippers or somewhere else, he's definitely made a name for himself, at least with the team this season. And I think definitely for him, it's just been a mix of just hard work and like you said, when your number's called, just being ready. Because there's nights where he has some DNPs where he literally just does not play. And same with Luke. The two of them kind of get flip-flopped depending on who's healthy. So yeah, just for him being ready and just staying ready has been, I think, his mindset, and just really it's benefited him and benefited the team because they're getting the most out of him when he's actually on the court.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Switching gears. This is a topic that we had talked about a little bit before the podcast, and that is the play-in tournament. We know that there's a lot of mixed feelings about it. Some people like it, some people don't. A lot of people in the Dallas organization, Mark Cuban, they've been vocal about not liking it. And I wanted to get your opinion on it.
Yeah, I think basketball is, at least from all the major sports, has been the one and only that has not changed like the playoff format. We're used to the 1 through 8, and you're in after 82 games. That's it. Unlike football, baseball, and even hockey, they've kind of expanded playoffs, and allowing more teams in and having a wild card game or an extra football game, So basketball, I think, is kind of playing with the idea of keeping this around. I think, again, they're, the mindset having of like, okay, there's 10 less games in the regular season, so let's have this little mini playoff tournament. I kind of like it. It does create some more excitement. It does give some smaller market teams the opportunity to say, oh, we're hosting a playoff game or we're playing a playoff game. I think if we went back to 82 games, I would not like it because, I would prefer to just have, our 1 through 8, because if you've grinded your 82 games and you made it, you shouldn't have to go win one more to stay in. I like the 7 and 8 seeds where if you lose a game, then you're all of a sudden playing an elimination game, where you would have been in. Yes, you're going to play the 1 or 2 seed, but you're in the playoffs, So I think depending on how they want to go with the scheduling, I'm okay with it for having it a shortened season like this, despite it only being 10 less games, but we can make the argument in those 10 games, if I'm a game or 2 back, I could catch you and then take over. So I can see where it's coming. We both probably know it's definitely some financial, being driven behind that, because you could charge more for a playoff game, or again, give a smaller market the chance to host a playoff game. But, again, too, of course, the guys like you said, Cuban, where his team is in that position, of course they're going to kind of whine and cry a little bit about it because they don't want to be having to play, basically sudden death games. But at the
Yeah.
same time, you're an owner who agreed to this because they have to get a unanimous, approval for things like this as an owner. So you did
Yeah.
vote for it. So, it's, you can't eat your cake and have it too type of thing, or, so
Mm-hmm.
I think, if we go back to a normal 82 schedule next season, I would prefer for it to go away. But
Same.
having the 72 games, yeah, I mean, I think it'll create again a little more buzz, around these last games, and now all of a sudden we're looking at who's 7, who's 8, and paying
It
attention.
gives it, yeah, exactly, and it gives like you said, it kind of gives a new direction. And I mean, as a just a pure fan of the sport, like I'm excited for those playing games. Like those playing games were fun to watch last season, so and this season has been shaping up to be a really fun season. So it's going to be just as fun to watch it, if not more fun to watch it in this play-in tournament. And yeah, I mean, I think a lot of basketball fans are really going to be tuned into those playing games.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, and you get, you kind of get the NCAA feel of like elimination games, and just, for 48 minutes, they got to go out there and just really play their heart out. So, yeah, and I think, again, for the way the schedule is set up, it's good. But I definitely would prefer to see it go. Maybe we could do like an 8-9 play in if we have 82 games. Like I know for the bubble, right, you had to be within X amount of games, and then
Yeah,
then it triggered it. So maybe something like that. But
I'd be down for that. Even just a different version of it. It's like that idea. It's very much. I mean, put your money where your mouth is. I mean, you want to be in the playoffs? All right, show up, do something about it.
yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I think depending on how the scheduling goes, yeah, it's one of those things. They're toying with the idea, and possibly they keep it. And like you said, maybe they switch it up a little, just change, like, just okay, you got to win only one game, or it's only the 8-9. Because yeah, I mean, I do think like we're just gonna start pushing it if a 10th seed who has a 6, 7, 8 games under 500 is able to sneak in. Sure, they'll probably get swept by the first, that first overall team. But, you also kind of want to avoid that, where, you just have teams getting spanked on that first round just because they were able to win one game. So, yeah, I think the league will toy with the idea. I mean, we've seen a lot of injuries with this short and compressed season. So, if they're able to do the same 72, but stretch it out a little bit more, avoid all these back-to-backs. I mean, teams literally have 12, 13 back-to-backs. And, we're seeing guys go down left and right,
It's
with
terrible.
injuries. Yeah, and it's grueling. I mean, these guys are professionals, right? Their bodies are ready. They have the best access to trainers and doctors. But just like anybody, I mean, I go play basketball. I'm gassed for a week, I mean, so it's just like you can imagine playing 30 minutes of a real NBA game up and down full court, it's tough. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you hate to see all these injuries, and I mean that could be a podcast of itself. It's just it's really bad to see. And I mean, to Trae Young and the rookie for the Wizards, Denny, I believe his name is. He's got a complicated name for me, but I mean, seeing that both going down on the same night. I mean, LeBron's hurt, AD's coming back today. I mean, which is cool, but it's like it's just
But he's
man,
been out for months,
yeah, exactly.
He's been out for a while. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
Jamal Murray just tore his ACL. I
yeah,
mean, so, Dame, I know you like Dame. He has a hammy problem, and same thing, these guys just, the grueling schedule has really caught up with them, So I think the way to the league can fix that is like, don't find these teams, though they find them like, it's literally nothing for these teams, 50K. But, don't find a team if they need to rest a guy, or, give a guy a night off, because, in a way too, they need to understand like the position they're putting these players in. So yeah, it's a fine line. I think if they can extend the schedule next season, maybe we'll see a little bit less of the injuries. But that definitely has been the downside to this compressed schedule. You have a lot of big time guys going out. And like you said, Trae Young just yesterday, hurting that ankle, and then he's dealt with ankle problems his whole life, his whole career. So, a team like Atlanta now, that's your main stud. come playoffs, if they don't have him, I mean, we know they're going to get bounced. So
Yeah.
it just kind of sucks. Same with Denver. Yes, they have MVP candidate and Joker there, but without Jamal as being that little 1-2 punch, the Lakers should take care of them real nicely. They're that first round matchup, if that's how that plays out. So, these injuries have been the downside to all of this as far as having the 72 games compressed, in 3-4 months, it feels like.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, speaking of the MVPs, do you have a favorite for MVP at the moment from what you've seen?
I think, again, now, if we want to talk about guys that played and stayed out there for their team, I think Jokic, from Denver definitely deserves that credit. He's been just amazing. And again, one of those big guys that can play down low and also shoot the three and has a great mid game going. And if we want to talk about guys that just been great in the time they've played, I think LeBron and Embiid both are definitely deserving of votes. Because we can kind of see what the Lakers are without LeBron. I mean, they're treading water, but they were easily a top 3 team when he was there. And same with Philly, with Embiid. When he's not there, you can kind of tell that they're just not the same team as they've been throughout the entire season. They're barely hanging on to that 1 seed out there. Keep flip flopping with Brooklyn. Every other night. So for me, I'm leaning Joker just because he's been able to stay healthy. His numbers have been really good, and especially these last, let's say, 15 games without Murray, if he can keep them in that 4th seed and avoid, flip-flopping with the Lakers, for example, and the home court, whatever it might be, in the bubble, I thought you kind of saw home court didn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
It proved like, okay, you're playing in the same gym, doesn't matter. But, you again, now with some traveling and stuff like that, obviously that will kind of play a role in it.
It's coming back. It's coming back.
Yeah. And, sleeping in your own bed and having that chance to come back, the day after and still stay at home, I think is really key. But, for me, Joker has just been, he's just real nice. That kid's nice.
I would be surprised if Jokic didn't win. I mean, there's a lot of candidates out there, like you said, from Embiid. LeBron will always be a candidate. I mean, unless he's out for the entire season. Dame and Steph have each been putting in, like, kind of throwing in their hat, like, hey, consider me. I mean, Steph's just been on a tear. But I would be surprised if there's been so much chatter about how it should go to Jokic. And I mean, Jokic has kind of turned into one of those, like, I don't know, one of those guys that the NBA just loves, like a Luka, like one of those, European guys that they just love to see. And I mean, if Dallas was a top team right now, Luka would 100% win MVP. But I feel like it would probably go to Jokic this season. And within one of the next, at max 5, probably like 3 seasons, Luka will probably have an MVP.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm a big Luka fan, and I think for Dallas, they're blessed to have a guy like him. I think they'll win a ring with him there because he's just that good and just one of those kind of generational players that the league needs. He's super funny. He's really great, and just overall can ball. So
he's like a poster boy. He can be a poster boy for them, for real. He can be what Steph has been, but like the new school version of it. If there's 3 players that the NBA loves, it's Luka, Jokic, and LaMelo Ball. Love those young guys.
Yeah, and LaMelo coming back too. I mean, finally got healthy and definitely might get himself back into that rookie, of the year talk. Edwards out there in Minnesota has been really great. And like you said, I think Sadiq Bey and the kid from Washington too have been really good.
Yep.
But yeah, LaMelo too. Finally, a ball brother can ball because Lonzo's not that good in my opinion.
Oh, hot take. Adam Ghattas, Lonzo not that good. Some people would disagree with you. I know some people that would.
No, for sure. I know Lakers, but I mean the Lakers, I think, made the right move and shipping him. I mean, just sometimes too, that little off-court drama with him and the family, sometimes carries a little too much, and it gets to their head. But LaMelo definitely looks like the kid, all around looks really good. Can shoot, can pass. And they said it too. LaMelo was like, the best of the three brothers overall. So I think he's kind of proven it. But again, too, rookie season's always, the league kind of needs to adjust to you. Again, these guys, you got to make a career out of it. So we'll see. But LaMelo for sure has been, I think, definitely has earned his right to talk the most smack, in that household, because the kid is. He's nice. Yeah,
he's shown that he has the most potential.
Yeah, again, I'm not a big fan of the Ball family, but I'll say LaMelo. Yeah, the kid can ball. And Charlotte, Jordan, they did a hell of a job. Eyeing him down and knowing like, all right, let's put aside the drama and the off court stuff. Dad loves to talk his shit, but I think the kid does his talking on the court. That's the difference, because he is kind of more laid back too, compared to the other, to Lonzo at least, who likes to be on social and just out, dating who he dates and stuff. Where LaMelo's putting, you can tell he's putting the time in on the court. So I think that's the difference there too. A little different mindset. He came in knowing he had to prove himself. Where Lonzo thought, I'm already, I've made it. He forced the Lakers to pick him by saying, I'm not going to go anywhere else. So, they're just the mindset too sometimes is the thing, in the game. I mean, so yeah, he's definitely earned
Lonzo's definitely put in the work too with his jump shot this season.
I mean, finally he can hit a three, yeah.
Yep. I mean, he's been hitting it well this season. So, wishing the best to both of them. I mean, we know LaMelo's going to be great and has all the potential in the world to be a top player. And I mean, Lonzo, it's like he's terrible, but it's kind of like he was put up on this, like he's going to be one of the best in the league for years to come. And it's like, okay, he's kind of like more here at this moment. I mean, who knows what the future holds? Maybe one day he'll be there, but it's looking like he's going to be here for a minute.
Right. Yeah. And then even as a team, New Orleans just hasn't, with Zion himself, they're just not, they're not even in the play-in tournament right now. So yeah, they definitely just have some more developing to do. And like you said,
they got things to figure out.
Yeah. And again, you don't make your career in the first 1-2 years, unless you're a guy like LeBron who can take your team to the finals, your rookie season type of thing. No, I mean, these guys got to stay out there. And, I think staying healthy too is a big part of it. So, because again, he struggled with some injuries himself. So yeah, no, we'll definitely see how their future plays out.
Definitely. It'll be, we'll have front row seats to all that. I mean, I know we'll be paying attention. All right. So the last thing I wanted to end on was kind of like a little timeless question, a question that I've asked a lot of different people. First time asking it on the podcast. So you need to build a starting five lineup to beat this starting five lineup: Stephen Curry, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Dirk Nowitzki, and Shaquille O'Neal. That's the starting five. You got to build a starting five to beat that. Who do you pick?
Can I just not face that starting five?
No, you have to. I no one wants to. No one wants to, but you have to. You're talking about arguably the best duo in the history of basketball, with a top three player in the history of basketball in LeBron, the greatest shooter in the history of basketball in Steph, and then Dirk Nowitzki, who, I mean, just the best European player, arguably, in the history of basketball.
Oh, yeah, no, Dirk, that little one-legged fade away, I mean, that's
the just 2011 run. We're talking primes, too, so we're talking that Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, no, I mean, they beat the big three that year. So, no, I think, I mean, so right away, since we don't got Jordan, I'll take MJ off for sure. Again, I think his size and how he can run the point, I would definitely go with Luka. I just think this kid is just real nice.
At your point, so he's matching up against Steph?
Yeah, I mean, Steph definitely has the handles and can get around him. But I think, if you want to match threes for threes, Luka definitely could do it. I would run, I'll take KD. He definitely, same thing. You need to have someone that can kind of match Kobe at that level. I would go Garnett. Same thing. You could probably play some D on Dirk, and that the both of them too have that mid-range game that I think, during their prime were amazing. The number 5 is what's killing me. But I guess if I had to go with maybe like a little older school guy, I think I'll steal your guy, like Olajuwon. I think would be a great 5, because same thing, could score. Because in this matchup, we got to score like 200 points. So
it's going to be a high scoring game for sure. No matter how much defense you play, it's going to be a lot of offense in this game.
Yeah. So I think Hakeem, down low, didn't really have the benefit to see him play. We're still a little bit younger on that end, but he definitely could play that mix of, defense and offense. And there's so many other guys we could go with, but I think those 5 would give me the best shot to score like 201, and that's all I need. So
yeah. I mean, so my starting 5, the hardest positions for me to think of were the 1 and the 4. I definitely had MJ to match up with Kobe, and I had Pippen because they're also arguably one of the best 2 like dynamic duos in the history of basketball. So when Pippen and MJ at the 2 and 3, Olajuwon at the 5. And my first thoughts were Gary Payton to play some defense on Steph, and Tim Duncan because he is arguably the best power forward in the history of basketball. But I wanted to switch it up and go Dame at the point guard, just as kind of that matchup for Steph. Steph's going to get his, whether he's being guarded by Gary Payton or whoever's guarding him. Steph's going to get his baskets, especially if we're talking about a prime Steph. So, I mean, I need someone who's going to get their basket as well, and that's Dame. Sorry, I'm going to repeat that because my mail just literally came in next to me. So I'm going to start over from my team.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
So my starting 5, the hardest positions that I had to fill were the 1 and the 4. I was going back and forth with a couple of names. For sure, I was going to go Michael Jordan to match up with Kobe. And then I was going to get Scottie Pippen at the 3. I mean, Scottie and MJ. And that would be my 2 and 3, and Hakeem at the 5. And my first thoughts were Gary Payton at the point and Tim Duncan at the 4. GP to play some defense on Steph, and Tim Duncan is arguably the greatest power forward in the history of the game. But I thought I'd switch it up a little for scoring sake and just for kind of, I guess, fit sake. And with going Dame at the point, because Steph, whether he's being guarded by GP or whoever, Steph's going to get his baskets, especially a prime Steph. So I want someone who as well can also just pull up from the parking lot. And Dame is going to give anybody problems the same way Steph is going to give just about anybody problems. And then at the 4 to go with KD, because if there was another power forward, like a really big, strong, paint dominant, more so power forward that instead of Dirk, I would probably go with Tim Duncan. But because Dirk is more of a shooter, even if it is a fadeaway jump shot, like even if, he's going to be in the post, like he's going to be post fading and stuff like that, I don't have a problem with putting KD on him because KD can hold his own. KD is lengthy. KD is also 7 feet or at least close to it. So it's not like he can't hold his own. And he is also the more versatile scorer in that matchup with Dirk. And the more versatile defender as well. So yeah, my lineup was Dame, MJ, Pippen, KD, and Hakeem. And like you said, both teams are going to drop 200 points at the end of the day, like no matter what's done. And I'm looking at someone like an MJ who sees Steph on the other team, and MJ's going to go right up to Dame, who he knows is a killer, and be like, yo, you better drop 60 tonight if Steph is guarding you, because like that guy, like you can drop 60 on him in your sleep. So MJ is the kind of guy that is going to be pushing those guys around him. Like KD, Dirk cannot keep up with you. You better drop 50 tonight. Like MJ is going to, I mean, we know the kind of leader that MJ was. He would not only tell you to do these things, but then he'd go out and do them himself. And Kobe is going to mirror that very much so on the team that he's on. But we know that the type of leader that MJ was, a very like brute force type of leader, a very hard leader, and a lead by example leader. And he wasn't going to take crap from people that weren't just straight like dogs. And we know someone like a Damian Lillard is a dog. So I mean, that's what kind of made it easy enough for me to decide to pick him at the point guard. And I'd be interested to see if anyone could put up a better lineup than the ones that you and I came up with. I mean, there's probably some old heads out there that would think of some older names, and I mean that's fine. I mean, there are so many names in the history of basketball that we left off this name from. The Bad Boys, Isaiah Thomas, Tim Duncan was left off, like we said. A lot of people left off. So I mean, if you have a better lineup out there and you want to share it. It's always an interesting topic to talk about.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, I think there's so many, if you want to go by era, you could set up a whole era back in the day, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Dennis Rodman, Charles Barkley,
Magic Johnson, Larry Bird.
Yeah, totally forgot about Magic.
I can't forget about the best point guard in history, Jonathan, the best point guard ever.
But like you said, if you need the buckets, that's the thing. Depending on the game has changed to where, these guys have to have a limited range we could make 20 different lineups to go against, that five, but I just rather not face that five at all. that's where I'll start with that.
Definitely.
Kobe and Shaq alone won 3 by themselves. So it's just like, now you're going to throw in Steph. Let's just get out of here. I'm good.
And LeBron?
And LeBron, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
No, yeah, I think like you said, we could have a whole other hour just talking about different lineups, and that's why I love to play at 2K, because then I could just make these on my own and just just go off.
Yep, definitely.
So that definitely is a whole conversation you could have, and like you said, depending on the era, there's so many guys we've left off from this day and age that too can just fall out. So.
And the number one question whenever it comes to anything all time with basketball is, what rules are you dealing with?
Yeah.
Are we talking old school where you can rough somebody up, where you can throw an elbow and it's only a common foul? Or are we talking new school where if you make a guy flinch, that's a foul?
Yeah, if you blow on them now, it's you're going to the line, and it's a technical, and it's a T. I don't know how many technicals I've seen where the dude just literally barks. Luka got a technical a few weeks ago, just screaming and one, and just because he looked at the ref with some intense eye contact, that was a technical. So
I've talked about that with lots of guys in this podcast. The fact that just the refs have been just crazy when it comes to just very quick on their whistles and very quick to eject people over the smallest things, like just competitive things. Nothing out of ill nature, nothing that's like I'm doing this with the like malintent towards you, the competitor. It's like, no, I just made an amazing play in a tough game as one of the tops in my sport, and I'm releasing that emotion, I'm expressing it. And that's something that as fans, we love to see that. We love to see when a guy gets a monster jam and just screams towards the crowd and hypes the crowd up. Like, we love that stuff. So seeing it kind of be taken away a little by the refs, no one likes that.
No, yeah, agreed. Unless you're, what was his name? The kid from Toronto, body slamming Schroeder, then all right, that's of course, but
OG Anunoby.
Yeah, there we go. So unless, stuff like that, of course, but nowadays it's, these refs. And again, I think that's, unfortunately across like all pro sports, especially football, for example, where, contact is no longer like allowed. It's like if you hit a dude, a clean hit, it's like, no, that's 15 and, you're getting ejected. So I think, again, I get it when it comes to like protecting players, but NBA definitely has been softer when it comes to, like even again, hand checking and just, you get up in a guy's grill playing some good defense. That's why the league too, you see 120 plus a night across the board, because defense really is a lost art, because guys like Draymond or, who claims he thinks he's the best defender, he's crazy. But
I mean, he's one of the most versatile. I would say that he's one of the most versatile of all time, but best.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, just guys like that, though, that play pure defense and are great, like Pat Bev, he's a great defensive guard, but, he's not going to score a lot for you. That's just that part of the game's kind of died down. And again, it's a lot to what, like you said, the refs, was at a game where they played the Sixers. Literally between two quarters, they called about 25 fouls. It was the most ever. Yeah, just watching it looks ugly too. Watching it breaks the flow of game up and stuff. So but again, we won't get fined for saying this, so we're good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it sucks. It sucks to see, and I mean, there's a lot of different reasons for it. Obviously, I mean, safety is probably one of them. Trying to stop altercations and fights from happening. I mean, let's go ahead and thank the Malice in the Palace for a lot of this and a lot of the rules tightening up. And I feel like a lot of sports kind of have those moments in history where something giant or catastrophic happens that it needs to change the rules forever, at least for the near future. I mean, just the trying to appeal to a younger audience, and like a lot of younger kids are buying NBA League Pass, asking their parents for NBA League Pass. Parents are on NBA League Pass with them. They don't want to see a bunch of people, getting into a fist fight over a basketball game because, oh, I don't want my kid to see that type of thing. So it's like they're trying to widen the audience, make it more like trying to reach more people and trying to make it more entertaining for more people. The more offense that you have in a game, the more entertaining it is to see. People don't want to see Pat Bev lock up someone for 40 minutes. They want to see Steph Curry drop 12 threes on whoever his matchup is, type of thing. And he does that better when you can't touch him.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, I mean, he just on that tear right now. Right now, he caught up Kobe for the most 30 consecutive, and then MJ still is way above everyone when it comes to that one. But yeah, no, you're right. It's definitely half safety, half just kind of reach a bigger audience. So again, the only good thing is we've noticed when it comes to playoffs, they kind of tighten up, and they don't blow the whistle as much because they know they're bigger games,
Yeah.
But also it's frustrating because it's like you're changing the rules for different sets of regular season, postseason.
Yeah, so it's like, when do you call it? When do you not call it? What qualifies as an important enough game for you to call it? A game 7, a game 5? Like it's just like set one rule across the board, and that's kind of what we've been clamoring for, like this entire podcast. Whether it's MVP or whether it's like rules, the actual rules of the game, it's like just set one thing and let's stick to it.
Yeah, no, agreed. So, but I think overall this year it's been a lot more exciting to watch, and I think we both agree. The play-in tournament starting literally in 3 weeks from now is going to be just kind of the start of, I think, a really interesting playoffs.
Yeah.
Because really right now you really couldn't say who's going to win it. Lakers we know need to be healthy. I know we need LeBron and AD there. We've talked about the Clippers. We didn't even really talk about the East, but there's a handful of teams there that could, if the Knicks are healthy, the Nets, though the Knicks too. Yeah, but, Brooklyn, Milwaukee hasn't seemed to get over the hump. Same with Philly. So, it's going to be a hell of a playoffs. And I think
there's a lot of storylines in this playoff, a lot of different storylines, a lot of different teams looking for redemption, a lot of different teams looking for recognition. The Lakers looking to go back to back. It's like there's just a lot going on here, and it's going to be exciting to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think we're both ready to get there. So it's definitely going to be a good finish to the race right here. Yeah, if I said that correctly.
No, yeah, you did. Definitely. I want to thank you again for joining me on the podcast. Great guest, a lot of great insight for the Clippers and for basketball. And I mean, really cool to talk some basketball with you, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate you having me on.